It is April 3rd, 2016. This is the Watchman News, and I'm Mike Callahan. Early this morning, I seen in my feed, my subscription feed for YouTube, a video by Dirt Patch Heaven talking about this new regulation or this change of an old regulation. And I wanted to go over it. I urge you to go to Dirt Patch Heaven on YouTube and either subscribe to her or at least watch her video and their call to action. I'm going to go over it and my thoughts on it and some concerns that I have. So this is it. It is FR-5877-P-01, Manufactured Home Procedural and Enforcement Regulations, Revision of Exemption for Recreational Vehicles. It is docket ID HUD-2016-0013. The agency is the Department of Housing and Urban Development. That is HUD, those that are supposed to help you with housing. So this is the summary of the revision that they would like to make. This proposed rule would modify the current exemption for recreational vehicles in the Manufactured Home Procedural and Enforcement Regulations. Under the current exemption, questions have arisen regarding whether park model recreational vehicles are regulated by HUD's Manufactured Home Program. Now, right there, let me explain to you what a park model mobile home, or basically they're talking about a camper, okay? The difference between a park model camper and a regular camper is that, and I know because I owned one, there are no tanks in it. It doesn't have its own pump. It doesn't have, it's set up to be able to hook up to a sewage system that would be at the campground, and to hook up a water hose to. They basically don't have the means for that. So I just wanted to explain the difference between a park model and a regular camper, like you see people pulling from different place to place. I mean, you can do that with one of those too. You just have to use a campground that have like sewage facilities and a water hookup. Anyway, let's see. These park models are being produced with patio roofs, screened-in porches, and other extensions that exceed the 400 square foot maximum exemption in the current regulations. Now, when I lived out, because I lived out at a campground, and you could add like a little porch to it or a little deck or whatever, but it could not be attached to the camper, okay? No way could it be attached to the camper. It had to be a separate unit, and it had to be something that you could take apart and haul with you. So that was kind of the rules that the campground had, because that kept them out of this kind of trouble, okay? Additionally, some of these models are being marketed as suitable for year-round living. And there are four-season campers that you can buy. Not a big issue. In fact, that was our intentions, was to stay in it year-round. And I was going to go in because there were some things that would have made that not so pleasant as far as the cold temperatures and whatnot. I was going to go around, extra insulate some certain areas and close up some things and make it to where it would be a little easier to keep warm on the inside. HUD's proposed rule would permit recreational vehicle manufacturers to certify that a unit is exempted from HUD's regulations. Specifically, HUD's proposed rule would define a recreational vehicle as a factory-built vehicular structure, not certified as a manufactured home, designed for only recreational use and not as a primary residence or for permanent occupancy, and built and certified in accordance with either the National Fire Protection Association, the 1192-2015 Standard for Recreational Vehicles, or the American National Standards Institute A119.5-15 Recreational Park Trailer Standard. In addition, to provide consumers notice regarding the manufacturing standards used to construct the unit, HUD's rule would require that units claiming the exemption display a notice that identifies the standards used to construct the unit and states that the unit is designed only for recreational use and not as a primary resident or permanent dwelling. Now, this is where my concern comes in with this. I am concerned what this is also doing is reclassifying a mobile home. Because if you think about it, a mobile home, and I'm not talking about like a modular home that you put on a foundation. I'm talking about a mobile home that has wheels on it, that the wheels remain on it. I'm wondering if they are going to also change that classification, because not only is this bad enough, but imagine how many people would be out of a home if mobile homes were declared recreational use only. So this is wrong all the way across the board, and we have to be concerned where they are going to go with this, not just where it's at as this rule stands. So, in something that I urge us to get involved with, urge people to talk about, there are a lot of people that live in campers. There is a quick growing number of people living in tiny houses. And tiny houses were easy to work with because of the lack of regulation. Now they are changing that. Now they are making it to where we won't be able to just build a tiny house for ourselves and live, or those that have already done so are going to have to move out as far as a permanent style of living. Folks, if you don't understand what this is one of the final stages, in my eyes, of Agenda 21. To get us out of our own property, off of our own property. They want us all to be renters. They want every one of us to rent. And the reason why is because the federal government, once again, more overreach, have been imposing more and more laws. By the way, these laws are inspired by the United Nations. And those laws dictate, like home inspections, for instance. So, so many times a year you have to let somebody invade your privacy and come into your home and look around. That's not right. But it's happening. Just in my hometown, they had started to where landlords had to start getting permits to be able to rent out their properties. Of course, they do it under the guise that it's to make sure that the properties are kept up. Isn't that what the Building and Zoning Board is for anyway? I can recall I had an issue with a place I was renting. I went to the Building and Zoning. They got a hold of the landlord. The issue was taken care of. So their guise of being able to make sure property is upkept just doesn't work with me. This is what they're doing. They're trying to get everybody out of their own property. First it was housing with the big housing bubble bust. And a lot of people lost their homes and had to go in and live in rentals. Now they're going after everybody else that found cheaper ways of living, but yet still owning. And they're trying to get rid of those too. That's the way I see it. That's at least how I call it.